Hi, this is Sweet Life and I'm Natasha, back with a recipe for making rack of lamb and/or lamb chops. Easter's coming up and a lot of people like to have a nice brunch, lunch, or dinner on Easter Sunday. Quite a number of people like to do an Easter ham. But if you'd like to do something different, some might consider a leg of lamb. But you can jazz it up even more and do a rack of lamb, or take it a step further and break that rack of lamb down to lamb chops. Lamb is less frequently eaten in America, the reason being that a lot of the lamb that we consume comes from New Zealand, and because of the distance that it has to travel, it can make lamb very expensive. And with that expense, it then becomes something that's quite pricey to purchase in restaurants. But as with many things, while it might be expensive in a restaurant, making it at home helps to reduce some of that cost. So if you haven't had lamb before, or if you've had it at a restaurant, but you'd like to do something a little bit different for Easter or any of the other holidays beyond, I would say consider this recipe. And because of its pricey nature, it's nice for a smaller gathering or for a special occasion with you and that special someone, so think a birthday, Valentine's Day, New Year's. It's a really nice option to have on your table for any of the holidays, especially if you're not entertaining a very large group of people. On the table, it looks nice and impressive, especially if you leave it whole and serve it as a rack of lamb. But even just breaking it down into lamb chops, it looks really nice on your plate. The chops look delicate, you can plate them up and make them look really nice, and it's something that looks really impressive but isn't actually very hard to make. I purchased this lamb around the holidays from one of those membership clubs and was able to get it at a pretty reasonable price. If you think of it, you go to a restaurant, you order a lamb chop dinner. It can easily be $30, $40. You generally might only eat from it once, maybe some leftovers, but in this case, this is pretty much like a side of lamb, like a fair amount. I would say there was maybe about 8 bones on each rack, and it's 2 pieces, so you get about 16 chops. And I paid, I want to say in the range of like 30 to 40 bucks for it. So if you think of it, for the price that you might pay for a single dinner, you can buy an entire rack of lamb for that price. Now, granted, like I said, I got it from a membership club, so if you're part of a membership club, you might want to start your search there. But you can also check out farmers markets, international markets. I know sometimes even Walmart might have. You can certainly get it from Whole Foods and other places, but I feel like the prices might be a bit more expensive at those kinds of stores. The first step is just cutting open the package, taking out the lamb, right? Nothing too difficult. In this case, I bought it just far enough in advance to ensure that I didn't have to worry about the store running out. Once out of the package, as with all meats for myself, I like to wash it down with vinegar. If you don't, that's your choice. But I just put it into a bowl, give it a nice little soak in some vinegar, which I mix with water. I leave it in there for a few minutes, just let it sit for a bit. After a few minutes in the vinegar, I drain that liquid off, and from that point, I'm now ready to start seasoning.
Okay, so now here we have our lamb, and I'm just going to go ahead and season this. I'm not putting too much stuff on it, as it's going to have like some accompaniment, and I don't want it to be too overly seasoned. So first up, I'm going to flip these over, and I'm going to put some seasoning salt first, a bit of black pepper, some 5-spice powder. Rub it in on the one side. Just like a light rub. I'm going to rub it in more deeply. But now I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to apply the same seasoning to the other side. So again, some seasoning salt, a bit of black pepper, 5-spice powder. I'm going to flip this over again. I have some blended seasoning. And then on top of that, I'm going to add a tablespoon of jerk seasoning. And this is hot jerk seasoning, a little bit more than a tablespoon. Now, you can certainly leave it out, but I'm going to put it in because I like the combination of jerk seasoning with lamb. And now I'm just going to mix this up, rub it all over the lamb. Right? You want to make sure that, in this case, I have 2 racks of lamb, that like they're both like really well coated in the seasoning. I'm going to blend it here. And just take the time to rub it all over both of them. Especially like the side with the meat. Getting all up in there. I'm just going to gather up this seasoning from the bottom of the bowl. and just spread it over the top of the meat. I'm actually going to take it and put it with the meat side down so that it comes into contact with that seasoning that's at the bottom of the bowl. And just take that and just rub it along the exposed meat part. And that's it. Real simple.
Cover the bowl with some plastic wrap, into the fridge, preferably at least overnight. You can go longer, you can go shorter, the option is up to you. And from there, you're good to go.
Alright, so here I have the seasoned rack of lamb, and this has been in the fridge marinating for several days now. And I'm just going to put it into the oven. It's well seasoned. I'm going to put it into this baking dish with the flesh side up. So like, here, I'll show you. This looks like the underside. You don't have a lot of meat on this side. And actually on this side here, you have a bit of fat. So I'm going to put it with that side up. So as it cooks, the fat will run down. It'll help to keep the meat nice and moist. And so we'll get like some good flavor, but the fat will also render out so the meat isn't like just sitting in the fat. Alright. Now then, just a little bit of seasoning left to the bottom of the pan. And I'm just going to take that and just drizzle it over. And this is just that seasoning blend and some of the jerk seasoning and whatnot. And this will help to give you like some pan drippings, a little bit of gravy. And just to help it cook a little bit even, I've taken this out of the fridge, but I'm actually going to let it just sit for a little bit before putting it into the oven to cook. And this I'm going to bake in the oven at 350 degrees. Now, you can cook it to your level of doneness using a thermometer. For me, aside from like beef, I don't really eat any other meats below well done. So I'm going to take this up to being well done. You can cook to your desired level of doneness.
Now, you can go ahead and once the lamb is done, just serve it as a rack of lamb, meaning leave it whole, sort of like family style, where maybe you put it onto a platter with some garnish, some accoutrements and whatnot. Give it like a nice little display and presentation, right? Like you put some work into this and it costs you some money, so make it look nice. Because I was making this for myself and I didn't want to have to worry about carving off lamb chops every time I wanted to eat, I pretty much meal prepped it. I went ahead and cut it into chops. I feel like maybe 2 or 3 chops are more than enough, so you actually get quite a number of servings out of this. I cut in between each bone and served about like 2 at a time. And I just had it with a simple side of some spinach that I sauteed with grape tomatoes and a black-eyed peas salad that I put together. I actually made this a few years ago, the end of 2022 for the holidays. And it was my take on New Year's dinner, right? This idea of having something green, having some black-eyed peas for good luck and wealth. But like I said, you can take this and have it as a holiday meal for special occasions. So with those 2 sides, it's perfect for New Year's. But you could switch it up, do something different, have it for Christmas, have it for Easter, do something like a fancier side, or even like a surf and turf kind of situation. Have it for Valentine's Day, a special occasion like an anniversary or birthday. But really the point is just to show that you can make this rack of lamb or the lamb chops, and it really isn't that difficult. It's very easy to season. All it requires is just keeping an eye on it when it's in the oven, and even that is easy. What you get at the end is a nice, tender, flavorful main without a lot of effort. It takes a little bit of planning and preparation, but once that's done, you're good to go. You get a very impressive dinner that'll look really nice on your table, will certainly impress your guests' eyes and taste buds. Thanks for tuning in. To ensure you don't miss any episodes, subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell, and check out my Cooking at Home playlist. Go ahead and click that thumbs up button if you like what you saw, and go ahead and share it on social media.